Hello there, welcome to another episode of Pitchside. Thank you so much for always, of course, checking out our content. We appreciate the support. People out there that are just joining us or watching this channel for the first time, welcome to Pitchside. You definitely can be a part of this family. All you have to do is subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and join this big family. Let's grow this together. Like I keep saying, I always appreciate people out there for commenting and sharing the content and giving us feedback, really. That keeps us going in one or another to make sure that we deliver a very, very, very fantastic episode each time we're in front of the camera. On this edition of Pitchside, I have been held hostage by two renowned lawyers in the sports field or in Ugandan sport, and they'll say one or two words in a bit, but I just want to let you know that in the past few weeks in the Ugandan football space, everyone has been talking about the new league format and whether it should stand or should be shelved so that we stay with the old, format of the league, which was home and away. A lot has been said, and as a matter of fact, as we speak today, 13 clubs have already ascended to the fact that they are ready to actually play in this league, while 3 others have opted not to feature in the league. So we are definitely going to sit back here and briefly, or probably in a long term, dissect it and have a say about this and where this puts Ugandan football in the long run. I'm joined by two faces that you guys know. On my right, Harold Atukwatse, a sports lawyer, but also executive director of Solitilo Bright Stars, a team that is in the big league now, not for because of the new league format. No, they are relegated sporting wise, I should say. And on my left is Luwaga Mubezi, who is a diehard KCCA FC fan, but also a very, very, very passionate person in regards to Ugandan football. You've seen him share his opinion on X and based on various issues. So I'm glad that these two are joining me. I'll start with Harold to say hello to you before I let Mubezi come through. Harold, welcome to Pitchside. It's been a minute, and you will not threaten me with your suits. FYI.
Ngoti denyo.
Why? Are we working?
Thank you, Peter. Yeah. My regards to the viewers and listeners of the Pitchside podcast. Yeah. I'm very, very delighted to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Harold, for coming through. Luwaga Sevo.
Yes.
I'm glad to have you here as well. Welcome on Pitchside.
Thank you very much for hosting us, Tabu. I'm delighted to be on the podcast today and speaking to a matter that is very interesting at the moment.
Yeah, the last time these two people were on the Pitchside podcast, we were still doing audio. I think it was audio.
Yes, it was audio.
Harold sat me down for 2 hours. You see, Peter, audio will work. Let's do audio. He gave me one appointment. The rest of the times is in court, Manyaya's meetings.
Kasta we started. Good to see it has now grown to where it is now.
Yeah, of course. You guys have played a huge role. All right, guys, back to the topic of discussion. Just right here with me is a document from the Federation that was sent to, clubs, addressed to all clubs, member associations and stakeholders. And the subject was Refined Competition Reforms Effective 2026 season. So basically, the Federation was explaining to the clubs about the new league format and how it will work and the prize money and everything. We're going to get into a few things from this document. But before we do, Harold, let me start with you. How do you get this news of, the Federation introducing a new league format to Ugandan football? And what's your take home from this whole back and forth that is going on?
Yeah. First of all, how do I get the news? As a club administrator, I'm privy to most of these communications and circulars. So I got it in my email. But of course, before it came out, I think there were meetings. So we had it in the rumor mill. Yeah. There were meetings at FUFA that involved certain other club administrators, who I think were mostly UPL, Uganda Premier League administrators. So we knew there was something coming. We're just not sure of the exact details.
Yes.
We knew the format was changing. We knew a few things were going to raise eyebrows. I'll start here. Change is always resisted. whether it's good or bad. People like the comfort zone. As human beings, we want to be in a place where, on a path of least resistance.
What they're used to.
Yes, what they're used to. Yeah. We'd had a format. I don't know how the league started in 1967, but we'd had a format that we were following for the longest time. And I don't think it had any problems in itself as a format. There might have been things surrounding the football and the clubs and the format, and the league that were problematic. But anyway, the circular comes out and it's a sweeping change of everything that was there. It literally turns it around and introduces something entirely different. Now, I'll not say whether it's more competitive or not. I have I've tried to do some research and see where a similar format or something close is implemented. I've seen there's something similar in Belgium. I've seen something in Scotland along those lines. Yeah. Those are not noteworthy leagues, so I'll not say it won't work, or it will not be as competitive, or it will not generate as much revenue as the old one. But what I will say is that for a body that governs football in this country, or for any public body, because FUFA is a public body, though it has private members, but by law, it's a body that governs football on behalf of Ugandans. There are certain parameters that you're supposed to follow when making such decisions. You cannot, for example, wake up and say, tomorrow we'll do such and such a thing, or tomorrow we'll do A, B, C, D. So there are those considerations that you have to take before you reach certain decisions. And as we go on with the podcast, I'll give a few examples here and there of where league reforms have been made, but in a way that encompasses almost everybody. People may resist, but from the start, they have to be involved. They win or lose, but they have to be involved in the decision-making processes.
Okay. Mubezi, I'm coming to you, and for you, you've been vocal from the word go. I've even seen you share, your side of the story on X, and fans are really mad about this. Most of them calling for a boycott of the league and everything. Yeah. But for people out there, just to get a snippet, is basically 3 rounds. What we're talking about. The first round, there's no home and away. It's 15 games, 1 draw, and people play each other. After those games, the top 8 are sieved out, and the last 8 are basically top 8 fight for the league. Last 8, fight for fight for survival.
To avoid relegation.
Yeah, and then those that are relegated. Those that stay. In a nutshell, I would sum it up that way. Mubezi, from your perspective, how do you look at the new format? But mainly, my question is, what problem do you have with the new format as a fan, specifically KCCA FC?
Yeah, so I have a problem with the format itself, but also I also have a problem with how we arrived at it itself, you understand? So even away from the format itself, the fact that there's no necessity for the change that is being argued for by the people at FUFA. For example, I think the best argument that has been made for why we need this format is that we need to make the league a little bit more competitive. And I do not see how this particular format that they are advancing at the moment achieves that end. Because there are countries that are using the kind of format that we're using at the moment, and they have very competitive leagues that are very interesting, you understand? So I do not see how what is being suggested at the moment arrives at that end. But also I think that it even goes ahead and kills the competition in the league. And how does that, how do we arrive at that? That you will have a competitive, fairly competitive first round, and then some teams will get lost in there because after the first competition, after the first round, they do not have any hopes of either winning the league, and yet things change. For example, I'll give you an example. The season that KCCA started from relegation for majority of the first round of the season, and by the end of the season, we were almost contenders because we lost the league by around like 6 points. But initially in the first 8 games, we're relegation side. You understand? So that's what a league offers you, that a league is a marathon, that you have 30 games with which you can be able to compete. So currently what they're offering doesn't like cure or provide for that kind of competitiveness that comes with a real league format. Also, secondly, why I say the process of how they arrived at this. The question is, how do you inform clubs and fans of a change in the league with less than 2 months to the league itself? You understand? How do you expect? First of all, fans have not been consulted, and we're the biggest buyers into this particular league because the product is being made for us. It's not being made for the clubs alone. The product is being made for the random average fan, and we're trying to get as many people to come to watch the league. You understand? So how do you arrive at having this format and just communicating it to the fans without saying what do the fans think about it from the beginning? But also, how do you ask us to have 2 months administratively for both the clubs, for the sponsors, and everyone? It becomes very hard for you to be able to achieve a lot of like budgeting, a lot of changing people's thoughts. You understand? I'll give you an example. As a fan, I enjoy going for away games. So if you're saying you want to reduce my away games from 15, because in the past I've been having 15 away games which I can choose from, and now you're giving me 6 or 7, still you are entering within, So the product has to be kept and as is. But if the change has to happen, then all stakeholders, including the fans themselves, have to be brought in so that the discussion is had, and then we have a way forward that is better.
Okay, before I get back to Harold, what is the reaction on ground? Because I am on social media platforms, several social media platforms, and I can see fans are expressing, what they feel about the new league format and all, which is negative. But is that the case overall? And maybe from the fans that you've spoken to, what is the exact issue about the new league format?
Okay, so the mood on Twitter and on and on platforms like WhatsApp and also on TikTok, I think, is the shared mood by majority of the fans. I'll give you an example. We've had the FIFA 8 games that have happened after post the announcement. Now, if you compare the KCCA Villa game that happened before Tuesday last week, the numbers that they had in that game vis-a-vis the numbers that turned up on Friday, you'll see that people are shunning like football. They're showing that discontentment in that way. If you also watch the game that happened yesterday, KCCA and Maroons, because KCCA fans turn up for their games at home, but we had like very few people turning up. So there's a general disgust or a call for boycott from fans because they feel like their league is being hijacked and taken away by particular people.
It's being kidnapped.
Yes. So a product that's supposed to be their product is being taken away from them in a manner that doesn't make sense because, as I said, stakeholder involvement. So even if you want to do that particular change, because we can have arguments on both sides of the house, you understand, but have those arguments been taken in at the conception level? Because now they want us to have those arguments when they are implementing already their concept, and as the viewers who take in this particular product, we are saying no, we have to be our clubs or UPL or FUFA. One of those bodies has to reach out to us, has to take in what we think about the league, because without us, honestly, the league would be dead without fans who would be willing to invest into it.
All right, Harold, this is when now I ask about what you wanted to highlight on before. You talked about the other leagues. You read up and saw, of course, Scotland. And by the way, I was having a discussion with David Obua because he sent me a text and we're going back and forth and was asking about my opinion on the league. And I told him, you played in that league in Scotland, didn't you? So he disagrees with it anyway, just so I am very clear about that. Yeah, how would you think, or what would you say should have been the best way the federation should have handled this situation? And maybe which other leagues would you compare this to that it has worked, and maybe can it work, or it can't work?
I'll start here.
Yeah.
That the body that introduced the reforms is the Federation of Uganda Football Associations.
Yeah.
Emphasis on associations, meaning that it's a constituent body for different other stakeholders. And those stakeholders involve clubs, the 16 UPL clubs, the big league clubs, and several other entities.
Stakeholders.
Yeah, stakeholders, delegates, this, and there. Now, the fans are not registered stakeholders, but they are the biggest stakeholders. Football is entertainment, and you cannot entertain yourself. You're entertaining the fans. They're out there waiting for you to put a good product before them. Now, what point am I trying to make? So if you have stakeholders, it's imperative that you consult these stakeholders. Imperative, like it's a matter of procedure that you consult these people. Now, the example I'm going to give, one of the most renowned league format changes we've had in the last 5 years is the UEFA Champions League, which we all follow.
Yeah.
Now, before it came to what we have right now, before we saw the backlash that some of us Ugandan fans were giving, there was a process. This thing started in 2021, and it was finally launched in 2024, 2025. So in 2021, they were consulting the UEFA clubs association. They were consulting the national bodies, the FUFAs of Europe. They were consulting broadcasting rights holders, the BT Sports and the Sky Sports, and saying, guys, what do you think about this? Every constituency had someone come out and speak for them. In this case, you'd say, okay, is Star Times happy with the new format? They're the official broadcasters of the league. But we've seen Aldrin, who is the vice chairperson, I think, come out and bash it.
And bash it.
So that means Star Times was not consulted. We've seen the clubs come out, at first unanimously and later on in different measures, but they have come out and said, we don't like this. Yeah? So who else? Who likes this format? Who was consulted? Who was involved in the decision-making process to get here? I'll say that FUFA has the overall authority. The FUFA Executive Committee has the overall authority to make all of these decisions. But for you to be, it's like how you say buntu bulamu.
Okay.
How do you get to such a thing without consulting members? Now, the other thing I can mention is the UPL, or for legal purposes.
The Secretariat.
Call it, not even the Secretariat, the body that owns the UPL, the FUFA Super League Limited. It's composed of 17 members. 16 of those are the current clubs participating in the league, and then the other is FUFA, the 17th ex-official member. But if the 16 are saying, we don't know about this thing, we don't like it, then that shows you that you're already starting off on the wrong foot. Secondly, and Mubezi mentioned this, it's the timing. You're 1 month to the league kickoff. Literally 1 month to the league kickoff. And you're introducing reforms. I mentioned that UEFA started consulting in 2021. After the pressures of the European Super League.
Yeah.
They went out, they consulted, they spoke to people until they arrived at this format. By the time they arrived, and it's one of the reasons that the Super League hasn't come back, because they involved everybody who had grievances. Real Madrid had their grievances, Arsenal, Liverpool, everybody else. So 1, stakeholder consultation. 2, the timing. You have to give people ample time. Because, it affects budgets, it affects broadcasters' budgets, fans' budgets, clubs' budgets, and so many other people's budgets. So you need to consult, and then get there.
Yeah.
We have the benefit of having a tiered system. We start from the regional league, come up to the Uganda Premier League. You could start it there. You could start it in the FUFA drum. You could start it in the big league, in the regional league, so many competitions. You could even speak to USSA. Say, guys, can we implement this thing? See how well it goes there. Because the USSA, I think, has a bigger following than the Super League, than the Premier League. Start it there. See how people appreciate it. See how people take it on. If it doesn't work there, then you know it won't work here. Yeah?
Yeah, I understand your point, Harold. And luckily enough, you've been part of a club setup in the Uganda Premier League. One of the biggest challenges people have expressed about Ugandan clubs in the top flight is working as a unit, standing together, not necessarily against reforms like in this particular case, but fronting their own agendas and making sure that they come through. Today, as we speak, 13 clubs have endorsed the league. Only Vipers, Villa, and NEC seem to have said no to the new format. What does it show for Ugandan football? As someone who has been in a football setup, Bright Stars last season was in the top flight. What does this show? Because everyone is saying this league can't happen. but 13 clubs are saying, because that is what it means. Yeah. Everyone is saying, guys, we can't have this league. 13 clubs are saying, we can have the league. It. What is going on? Yeah.
And you know,
I'm asking a very vague question, yeah, but it's making sense.
I tell you what.
Yes.
I've been involved, or I was involved with the Uganda Premier League.
Yes.
For 8 years, 8 top flight seasons. And I think in the last 4 or so seasons, I've been advocating for an association of club chairmen.
Oh, as them?
Yes. The 16 club chairmen need to have an association that, for lack of a better word, that is sort of like a regulatory body for their relationship. The way you have the G8.
Okay. Yeah. That govern the world.
Yes. The G8 will come out and say, look, we may not have this written out somewhere, but we know what you're doing is not right. You can't do it. So even before you go, like you said, even before you go to opposing reforms and making it political and all this, regulate yourselves amongst yourselves. Last season we had some diabolical scenes between Chitara and Vipers. Yes, and Express. Yes, and Vipers also. Yeah. In that the matches between the Uganda Cup and the Premier League between Chitara and Vipers were heated. But they were heated because of mostly off-the-pitch incidents. I saw you interview Revita and Okot about some of these things. They were heated about
diabolical, this, like you said. Yeah.
When you have an association, then you get to call each other out. Oh. Say, man, look, this is not right. We cannot travel all the way to Arua and this such and such a thing happens. You get to call each other out on that. And that helps promote professionalism. Because there are things that a club at Dr. Lawrence Mulindwa's Vipers will tolerate that the clubs like Bright Stars see as alien things because they're not at that level. Yeah. So Mulindwa will get to pull up a small Bright Stars. Say, guys, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. Secondly, we do not need institutional clubs in any football structure in this country. They should be in the corporate league if they want to be here.
You think they don't have the best interests at heart?
No, it's not an interest thing, but these are political bodies.
In every
they are
sense
formed from a political structure. They will always be political. Their survival is political based. No, you don't expect them to feel the pain that Dr. Mulindwa feels. You don't expect them to feel the pain that Haji Mandela feels. You don't, and I'm very impressed with Brian. Yeah. Despite the background I'm talking about, he's come out and said, look, this is not right. But the majority of them, they don't have the same pulse as Solitilo Bright Stars, as Vipers SC. I mean, where are their budgets made? Do any of them wake up and say, oh, we need to look for this kind of money? No. Say, no, our budget, guys will sit in Apple and
as a matter of fact, if the money is not there, things keep moving.
Yes. So for you, as a Dr. Mulindwa, for you as a Solitilo Bright Stars, as a Lugazi, as a Wakiso, for you to be seated with these people, they don't see you the same. They don't see you the same. I see people shelling SC Villa for not having a stadium. But probably if they had KCCA's support, they would have a stadium.
They got money from UNRWA.
Different story. That money probably ran the club for the last 4 months. So for me, we have the 13 clubs, and I think of the 13, 6 are institutional clubs. That tilts the balance of power.
Oh, makes it even harder.
Yes, because, I mean, they're going up with another, they have to team up with a fellow government body in FUFA. They probably share executives.
A FUFA that is getting 17 billion.
Exactly.
From
That's
government.
Easily the same source of funds. So why not tee up with them? So for me, the institutional clubs have done this country a disservice.
More damage.
And we can see over the years, we had the diaries, the state houses, the UEBs, and the rest, and they had gone. The best way to go about this thing is for us to have a private sector controlled Uganda Premier League like it's supposed to be. I do not know. And people will tell you go to Zambia, but we cannot be looking at countries like Zambia for benchmarking. Benchmark on the European leagues. Go to Morocco and see what's happening there. See what are the strongest football brands on the continent, on the African continent. Are they the state houses or the diaries or the UEBs?
No, they are not.
They're not. So moving forward, and I think this should be a lesson for the whole football industry, that there are brands that we should cherish. The Wakiso Giants, the Vipers, the Villas, the Expresses, the Lugazis, now the Calvaries have come up, the Buhimbas, the Chitaras. Those are brands that have come up organically and survive organically on a daily basis.
And should be supported.
And should be supported and developed and harnessed. I'll say this as I conclude on this 13v3 thing. You have like 7 institutions that I spoke about, which if tomorrow, like we saw the law that came out, Mubezi, you can refresh my mind, the one that was taking back associations and authorities back to the ministries. Okay. If such a law came up tomorrow and they said, no, why is, and for lack of a better, why is URA running a football club? What are we sports washing? Why is KCCA running a football club? UPDF. I mean, we have 4 or 5 versions of forces in the league. Maroons, UPDF, police. There's a NEC, there's a Uganda Wildlife Authority somewhere in the...
Fighting to come up.
Fighting to come up. So one time we won't have a league for ourselves. But if such a law came up and they say, no, look, starting next season, we are taking back everything to the ministry. We don't need football clubs. So what do?
Yeah, we'd find ourselves in a very,
we got
very
the
tight
big
spot.
league and say, all of you 7, 8, 9, come up, let's do this.
It becomes hard. Very good insight there from Harold on the conundrum in the Uganda Premier League in clubs. Yours or your question is, first of all, I want to allow you vent your frustration with your club, KCCA FC, because they're amongst the 13 clubs that on paper are saying this league is okay. Yeah. It should go ahead. And maybe just to clarify, I saw so many people coming at the CEO, Anisha Mohozi, and I felt that was unjustified, really, because it's not entirely her position to, make the final decision about the club. But Luwaga, your take on KCCFC's position on the league, new league format, and maybe how best could they have circumvented the whole situation?
Yeah, so partially the problem with KCCA goes back to the argument that Harold was trying to start an argument about how institutional clubs are politically motivated and politically moved. I think KCCA suffers also from the same problem, like police and all the other teams that voted that are institutional clubs. Whereas I disagree on him on the extreme solution that he gives, that maybe institutional clubs need to go to corporate leagues, because sadly our context does not allow for, I think government is the biggest investor almost in our country, in almost all spheres of life, sadly. So we don't have a lot of private investors that can outbid government when it comes to certain things. I feel like that necessitates the presence of government institutions also in places like football. So if you want to have good investment there also, you may need institutional clubs to be there. But going back to the league issue, so whereas everyone was angry with the club CEO, if you saw my tweets were directed towards the authority, because the pressures that come with the politics of the authority that is linked to the to FUFA and all their moves and all their threats is what drove us to that particular position. Because if you look at the narrative, when KCCA first initially wrote, whereas the letter was vague, and I think it was intentionally vague, it showed what the club's position was, that we are not in agreement with this particular position, with this league. That was clearly stated, and they talked about a number of things in there of why they were against it. And then in a week's time, they flipped, and they did not vote in against, which yesterday I was listening to Villa fans and the kinds of insults that we got as KCCA for betraying football. That's what they call it, a betrayal, and I also think it's a betrayal of football itself. So in a week's time, because of me personally, I think because of the pressures that are coming from the authority, the ED the authority, to the board, I think we are allowed and accepted to move with the with the position of FIFA, which is very sad because KCA fans I think have spoken clearly against the league, and I feel like KCA fans should be given some kind of voice. They need to be heard. They need to be heard, and it may be a hard position for those that are managing the club in terms of like the club CEO, in terms of like some members of the board who may be against it. But I think they need to find a place where they shun the outside voices, even if those voices give us part of our budget, but also the funds are very central in regards of the attendance for games, in terms of buying merchandise, because KCA fans buy merchandise freely, you understand? So the fact that they're not being heard and listened to is very disheartening and very sad. Yes.
Okay, so Mubezi, where do we go from here? Because I've been in Ugandan football long enough to know that some decisions once made, people will do anything to make sure this, goes ahead and happens. So how do we go from here? What happens? I mean, fans are saying this should not happen. The federation has already, shown that they're even going ahead. They're even showing and explaining how the league will work and, the money that clubs are going to receive and everything. So from your perspective, how does Uganda football move from this going forward?
I do not think that Uganda's football needs to move on from this, and I'm speaking as a fan because that's why I'm here. I think as fans we need to take our little money out of the league for this season, just to show them that the fans also matter. Our money may be little as you want to claim, some people want to claim it, but I think as fans we need to boycott our clubs, we need to boycott the product, we need to stand together. So if you're saying that we're not watching the UPL, let us not turn up and watch the UPL. Let them broadcast those games to themselves. If you're saying we're also, for example, me as a KCA fan, what I'm doing is that I'm not buying any KCA merchandise, and yet I have always had two kits as a must, as a minimum, ever since I started working. So my idea is that as a fan, I'm boycotting a position that was taken by my club that I don't agree with. You understand? So I feel like the league might happen, but as fans, we need to show that that we're unhappy about it. And I think the best way to show that we're unhappy about it is to hurt our club, but also to hurt the league itself, and tell them we won't turn up in numbers. So for me, I'm saying at that level, for the fans, I think that should be our starting position, boycotting the league. For the clubs, and I'm thinking to the clubs that have refused to be part of it, I think their answer lies in politics and not in anything else, because if they can weld or get some kind of political backing that supersedes what the federation has at the moment, which is also huge political backing, then they can be able to push against it. So I think that is where their cure is. It's not in, it won't be anywhere else except for having some kind of a political response, which is found maybe in the Ministry of Education. And we know also the Ministry of Education cannot directly have a say in sports matter because FIFA is against that, but still it's a political issue that they need to find a cure within the context that we live, that you have to have someone, that a godfather, quote unquote, that can help you, save you from what is going to happen. But as things look like at the moment, I think the league is going to continue as is with its 3 rounds. But as fans, for me, my call is to boycott. Yes.
Harold, legally, please shine a torch in this situation. Are we going to involve CAS? Is Haji Umar Mandela and Brian Muhinda and Dr. Lawrence Mulindwa going to take this? Just how far can this go from your perspective? And what does it mean for Ugandan football from your perspective, Harold?
What needs to happen legally? First, like I mentioned, this decision is it's the decision to change the league format is a decision of the FIFA Executive Committee. It's sat, and as you can see, they minuted that they have decided to change.
Yeah,
the decision.
Yeah.
Now we have a new National Sports Act that gives powers to the National Council of Sports to monitor these leagues. To monitor these federations and associations and unions. But the law is very silent on what happens if such a decision comes up and the stakeholders do not agree with it. So we don't have very many answers there. We don't have very many answers there. With the law also, the National Sports Act also provides for dispute resolution mechanisms. But those tribunals and bodies to make such decisions have not been put in place by the minister. So there is no solution there. The solution lies in lobbying. If we went to CAS, we would still lose.
And would spend a lot of time.
Yes, a lot of time and a lot of resources, and it won't be in the interest of football. Because, I mean, while we're at CAS, there will be a lot of animosity in the league. Now, when the European Super League came up, their backing was in the European Court of Justice. They went and said, look, this thing is, whatever UEFA is doing is anti-competition. It does not foster competition the way we see it, which would be the same argument that whoever is against this format would be making. But we don't have an equivalent of such a court. So you are left with the ordinary courts of law, which, like I said, I mean, for you to overturn such a decision through judicial review, you'd need... I don't see you overturning it. So for me, the decision is political. The minister, the junior minister, Honorable Peter Gwang, has to get involved, and the Ministry of Sports and Education has to get involved, because this is a big issue. It's a post-Chan issue, and I remember I had, through people like you, Tabu, that there was a meeting in State House post the Algeria match. What were they complaining about? The league. You can say Chan, but it's the league, the products of the league. The first lady, I saw this on Gistin's X. She's saying, she asked, do you guys even train? Should have told her, no, we don't have a league. Our league is
in shambles.
That's why we are the way we are. So if the president is willing to be intentional, if the Minister of Education and Sports is willing to be intentional, if the junior minister is willing to be intentional, if Bernard Ogwell at NCS is willing to be intentional in moving Uganda's football to the next level, then this is an opportune moment to come in and say, look, the 16 of you, FUFA, UPL, Star Times, whoever is concerned with this thing, we need to sit in this one room and come up with a proper format.
A proper format.
There's no rush. People will say, oh, the league is supposed to start. No, there's no rush. We need to do some house cleaning and move forward in a unanimous way.
All right, when you say unanimous, it means majority takes precedent, if I could say it that way. Harold, let's say that FUFA have a point in introducing the new league format. Let's just, assume. Do you think they have done it in the best way possible to, try and convince Luwaga that please support the league? What do you feel like they have actually taken the right steps to convince fans, to talk to the stakeholders that, guys, this is something you can take on? Or is it a case of take it, if you don't want, we'll still go on?
Peter, it's a case of take it. Let me give you a previous experience. I used to travel for my birthdays. And my birthdays fall on the 21st of August. That's usually 2 weeks before the league starts. So one time I'd traveled. I left after we'd done everything we needed at Solitilo Bright Stars for the new season. We'd signed our 27 or so players. We had a coach in place. We were set. So I'm out of the country and someone calls me, says, look, you're now required to have 5 under 21 players who will have to be double licensed.
On the team?
2 weeks to the starting of the league. What are the implications of such a decision?
Of course.
I have to terminate 5 contracts.
Which you had already signed.
I have to look for 5 under 21 players. I have to find teams for these people. I have to find money to facilitate this newfound obsession with these players. 3-4 years down the road, we don't know the impact of this whole double licensing thing. Was it good? Was it bad? We don't know. Now, same thing here. Someone or a group of people have sat down and said, we must implement this thing. within the next 1 month. Is it logical? Is it illogical? If you ask me, it's illogical. And these are my reasons. That we like doing things last minute in this country. You saw even with the Chan marketing. You're marketing the tournament, that's tomorrow, the following day.
Someone had to stand on the floor of parliament for money to be released,
yes,
for marketing.
What were we doing last summer? Why didn't we write this circular to the clubs and say next year we'll all be required to adhere to this? What were we doing 2-3 years ago? We have a technical master plan that has been in place for a very long time. But I wonder how many people know which stage of the master plan we are at. Have we started? Are we about to start? Are we done? It's a 7-year plan. But do we know in the 3rd year what's happening? No. The people at FUFA know. So for me, for you to get fans buy-in, and this league is, the format it's interesting on paper. It would have been a good sell for a good media marketing campaign. Something that you've been pushing for a year. You saw in the 1-2 weeks that the clubs were meeting with FUFA, it was refined. And we finally had a document that said the refined league format. Yeah. It was refined. So if we had had it over time, we would refine it. Like I said, I'll not sit here and say it won't be competitive, it will be competitive. No, I'm not a prophet. But the processes leading to this
is what is
it's what the fans are running away from. It's what the Muvezis are saying, look, we feel betrayed.
Thank you very much, Harold. Mubezi, in this document, I think on the final page, before the final page, there's a page that talks about the money that clubs are supposed to earn in the different rounds. Round 1 is 38 million. Round 1, 3. Whoever tops will get 62 million. We've been talking about the lack of money in clubs and in the league. And yes, we've said maybe this league is definitely not supposed to happen in this season. But let's look at some of the incentives that FUFA is trying to put in here and there. What do you make of it, and does it make sense to you?
Okay, so my biggest problem with the incentive is that the incentive is not tied to the format itself. That the incentive itself, the money incentive, can continue to exist even in the current format. So if the prize money was coming from, let me say, maybe like the official broadcaster is giving us more money because we are playing more games and that's where the money is coming from, then it would make sense. But it seems like the money is coming off an already existing budget that FUFA needs to spend on the league. So it means that regardless of whether we continue with the format itself, we can have that money. You understand what I'm trying to say? That the incentive is not tied to the format itself. It is the person who's giving it who's trying to tie it to it. So the incentive is being tied to it as a bait for us to buy into it, not because it is a product of the format itself. So for me, that's my problem, that the money is not the product of the format. The money can still be there even when we use our current format. You get that we can choose to say that we're going to either increase on the winners take home using the current format, that everyone else from 1 to 16, we're going to have an increment of what they can earn from that same money, because the money itself is coming from another budget, not from the format itself. So I struggle to see the incentive that
has been put in there.
You understand, that is tied to the format itself, that is derived from it. I think the only incentive that I see personally from the format is the increase in the number of games, which I think is good for footballers. We need to have more games, but also that is also not an issue that's been existing, because our footballers outside the competitive games are still playing way more games to earn more money. You understand? So already playing as many games as possible. So the only incentive that I'm seeing is that we are having more competitive games for our footballers
in
this format, that we're having an extra, and also for those that like big games, that you'll have a KCCA versus Vipers, I think around 4 times in the season.
Doesn't it get boring after 2?
It does. That's what I'm saying. It does. You understand? There's a beauty that comes with knowing that I have a home and away, fixture, and
the timing of when it happens.
And when it happens, if it's also done, if the fixturing is also done well, that it becomes more enjoyable. But I do not personally, I really struggle that for a league where we're having You know, for example, there are games that people do not even watch. They're even shown on TV, but no one shows interest in them. You get. So, how do we improve the quality of the teams themselves? I think that is our biggest question. Instead of like multiplying the games themselves, the question is how do we improve? How do we invest more in these clubs so they can give us good quality? And one of the things that I've been thinking about that 2 seasons ago we had an Arua Hill game where they had less than 11 players available for selection. You understand? Is that a format issue or it's an investment problem? You understand? That we had a game that was shown on TV and one club had less than 11 players on pitch or even that were available for the game. You get. So we need to find a way in which we can resolve our problems that gives us better quality than what they're giving us. Yeah, because we're not playing a bad product. We're just having more games of the same product.
And also, by the way, you it's very possible, guys, that 3 rounds into the league, a UPDF will rise up their hand and say players are not paid and we can't win our games, even in this new league format. But Harold, as we conclude, what's your take on the incentives that have brought that FUFA's bring in here to try and to encourage the clubs that it's a new league format, but there's also money for you available to make sure you operate?
I'm very happy about the insurance scheme.
Yeah.
Very.
Should
excited.
be operational though.
Yes.
Because at some point it stopped.
Yeah, it had stopped, but it was such a relief. It was such a relief. I mean, a surgery is 15 million, ACL reconstruction. So if you have 2 in a season, I'm very happy about that. I'm happy that money was secured and ring-fenced for that. I am very, and it's not because I disrespect money. No, I respect money very much. But I'm very disturbed that if at Chan, Uganda had won just one more game, then one Chan player would walk away with more prize money than what is put in this document for the winner of the league over the 3 rounds. Because I think the winner takes 100 million, right?
Yeah.
Over 3 rounds. So a player who played 3 games at Chan would pick up comparably more money than a team that has played 34 games, 34 rounds of football over 10 months. And you're giving them 100 million? Yes, it's welcome money. Like I said, I respect money very much, but it's very disturbing. It's very disturbing.
In this day and age.
And Marvin Joseph Youngman should forgive me for this. That Marvin Youngman went to Chan and pulled a hamstring 1 week to the tournament or 2 days to the tournament and did not recover until the end of the tournament. But he'll walk away with 100 million. And I'm happy that he is walking away with 100 million. But that's the same prize money that his team will get if they win the league.
It doesn't add up.
So what are we doing? I don't even need to delve deeper into what the money is. For me, that alone paints the picture. And it shows me that as a country, as a government, we are misguided about the importance and the power of sport as a revenue generating stream, but also as the biggest advertising machine for this country. We've seen DR Congo. They're about to get onto the Barcelona sleeve.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Democratic Republic of Congo is paying billions. The deal is going to be, I think, $15 million per season, which is a lot of money. But let's just get $10 million and put it in the league here and see how well we'll market Uganda.
Uganda. Mubezi, we're concluding, and I'm going to come back to Harold. Where does this whole situation that we've talked about leave the Uganda Premier League Secretariat? From your perspective as a fan and as a football stakeholder, in what image do you see the Uganda Premier League Secretariat today? Because with all these things have been handled by the FIFA president, who's been on different media platforms and FIFA socials and everything. I've not seen anything from Bernard Bainamani, anything from the new league manager, Eric Owor. It's been FIFA all through.
Yeah, I think it's a very absurd place to be. First of all, I want to echo what Howard had said, that first of all, FIFA has the mandate to make that particular call. But even if they have the mandate, the Secretariat has the job of running the league itself. They're supposed to think around the league. They're supposed to help drive the product itself. So even if there is another body that is called upon who has a mandate under the regulations to make that call, these guys cannot do it without the consultation or even with the goodwill of the UPL. There's silence. We can't tell if they are for or against it because there's been a lot of silence around it. So we can't even say if they're for it. But I think that's also like the kind of vibe that we've received from the UPL for so many years. The fact that it was created to have like the mandate of running the league. But I think none of us can look back and say that this is what we have seen them drive in terms of sponsorship, in terms of the quality of the football, in terms of a number of things. Really, you understand, yeah. In terms of creating a brand of the league, you get. So it is not shocking that we have some level of dead silence from them. I think they are there as as a picture, as a body, but we've not seen so much of what some of us expected because we thought that the creation of a secretariat would mean that we have a particular team that has the whose like entire thought process and the entire work is on how to make the league better. I don't think they've done that or achieved that. I think even the clubs themselves have tried to do more in terms of selling their brands and everything than what the UPL has done in the past. So whatever is happening at the moment, I'm not shocked as a person that we are the masses of one man and his few people at Mengo.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Harold. Your take home from about the Uganda Premier League Secretariat. What do you see? Maybe should they do better? Are we castigating them? Surely.
I have a story from a few months ago.
Yes.
Harold, Atukwatse, Sula Kamoga, the CEO of Wakiso Giants, and Hamza,
yes,
the
Junju.
president of futsal.
Yep.
Hamza Junju. We reached out to one of the corporate companies in this town.
Yep.
And asked for them to. It started with us. It was Solitilo Bright Stars. We reached out looking for sponsorship, and they said, "Look, we are looking for something bigger." And they suggested to us that there was such a thing as locker room bonus. And we engaged, and they said, "Oh, look, it's going to be this much money, 100,000 for every player on every team that wins, and things of the sort." And but they said, "Look, we need everybody to be on board." So we took the product to UPL. I'll leave it at that.
We didn't have a locker room bonus.
This was at the beginning of last season. It didn't happen. And there's so many other things that you see and that give you the picture of this is a good body in the right place, but they're not exerting themselves. And there are even good individuals in there. Yeah. People who know what the right thing is. But they are usually powerless, sometimes because of budget, sometimes because of external influences. I'll not go into the external influences. But what I'll say is these people are voted for by clubs. The board of directors that later on hires the secretariat, because the secretariat asks on the whims and wishes of the board. These people are picked by clubs. It takes me back to the weak club structure. Do we have a small association of chairmen
who can supersede,
who can sit, yes, and say, "Look, this Peter, what have you done in your 1 year tenure as a member of the board of directors?" But let me put it this way, Peter. And I will not tire to refer to the developed world. In England, the 20 Premier League clubs, their chairmen are part of an association that is led by Richard Masters as the CEO of the Premier League. Or the CEO or chairman of the board, one of the two. But Richard Masters cannot make a decision as small as the introduction of automated refereeing. The VAR you see of the referees. He cannot make it. And the FA cannot make that decision too. The decision is made by the teams. They will sit and say, "We're looking for an overwhelming majority of 14 If we have 14, then we'll take up the decision. They'll say there's certain decisions that need 10 teams, 10 out of 20. But if they don't approve, it will not happen. I will not castigate the UPL Secretariat or the UPL board before castigating the club chairman.
Yeah, the club
We
chairman.
have, yes, whatever is happening, I say we because as their last season, we have let it happen. The board treats us as well or as bad as we want to be treated. I'll give a small example about the KCCA decision, the Gavin Chizito decision.
Mbarara City.
Involving Mbarara City. The board came out and gave their position. I mean, Paul wrote the email and said, according to my records, A, B, C, D. And what did we do? We trashed that decision. And I think I haven't spoken to Paul about his resignation, but maybe it started from there. From him feeling powerless. From him feeling hopeless. Because if you're a professional in charge of running the league, you're the league manager, and such things happen, and nobody cares. For me, club chairman, UPL Secretariat, UPL board, same cluster.
Same marriage. Guys, we've had a very, very interesting chat on the new UPL format, but also most interestingly, the clubs, the club officials, and where Ugandan football lies, especially with how the league should move forward. So I want to appreciate Harold Atukwatse. Thank you, sir, for passing by on pitch side.
Sorry, it's a pleasure.
Mubezi, thank you so much for passing by.
A pleasure. Pleasure. I've enjoyed myself.
Yeah. Now you get the runji. Abawansi, the people of the foot. Don't worry.
We're gonna take them with
There will
subtitles.
be, subtitles. So that you understand what my land colleagues
Or maybe you can get VJ jingle on this.
Speak over it.
and is going to give me an invoice. But subtitles will be there, guys. As always, please always keep it pitch side. Subscribe. Keep the feedback coming through, and I will definitely be giving you more of this very, very insightful and very, very good content. Cheers, guys.